Well, Sunday was a snow day, and man, that kind of cuts the crowd down. But hey, a lot of people were watching on Facebook, so we know you didn't just lay out; you were engaged.
Yeah, saw quite a few comments.
Yeah. So when I came in on Sunday, people were asking me, "Did you get out and enjoy the snow?" And I'm like, "No, man. We're old now. I guess we're empty nesters. We don't have little kids, so we just kind of watched it."
I
outside.
do have little kids, and I feel old. So.
You got little kids, so what? Y'all got out in there. What'd you do?
It's funny how much your perspective changes in just a few years on snow, and it turns into like, man, I can't wait to get out there and enjoy that. I guess I'll do this for my kids, just so we have the memory. So, I mean, all seriousness, we had a lot of fun. We built a big snowman. We checked the boxes of all the things that you're supposed to do, and we actually got out there on the side by side. And realized that was a bad idea after about 6 minutes. And there's a picture of me like with my fists clenched, looking like Liam Neeson in the movie Taken, just because of how cold I am and I'm in sheer pain. So we have all the evidence that we had a good snow day. So yeah, it was great.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, when your kids are little and it is a snow day, it's a magical time. I do kind of miss it. Those freezing cold hands, those wet feet. You don't get those times back. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You get like one every 8 years or something. So I figured Nora will be driving the next time we got a good one.
About the time they graduate high school, we may get another one.
So we made the most of it.
Yeah, but hey, this is Live at Liberty. This is the first episode of this thing, so we wanted to kind of introduce it. And so kind of the way I would describe it is we wanted something that's extremely local to the church to kind of help people to understand. So each week you're going to get a segment. This is going to evolve as we go. So right now you're going to get a segment from Nicole about what's going on. You're going to get a segment from Lori about who, and this is kind of introducing you to the people of Liberty. And right now she's going to do these great transformation stories. And then you're going to get a segment from me that kind of is the why. Why do we do some of the things that we do? And it may kind of get into an upcoming event or something like that. But how would you describe it?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. But really, as we've dreamt about this and we've talked about this, had a lot of meetings and planning just to really seek after what the Lord would want to accomplish through this is kind of what you were saying is we want to tell the story of what God is doing here at Liberty. And we want the people that are involved in those stories that God is using, that God has transformed their lives. He has, done a 180 in so many people's lives to turn them straight towards walking towards Jesus every day of their lives. That's really what we want to talk about. And really, this is a way for people to get to know the people around them that we just don't have the time, we don't have the capacity, even with all the things that we do with worship, with life groups, with fellowship meals. There's always more to discover, and there's always more stories to tell, and this is a great way for you to look around and really feel like you know your church. Yeah,
you can't say it all on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And man, I want people to watch this or listen to this, and by the way, you may hear some noise because they're out there working on the auditorium. It's very much live at Liberty. But I want people to watch or listen to this podcast and be able to walk in on a Sunday and go, man, I know who you are because I heard your story or you won some goofy recreation thing or two, whatever it may be. So anyway, I think people are going to dig it, man. So in this episode, here's what you're going to hear. One is, did Amber plagiarize her chili? Number two, an incredible transformation story. Man, how would a wife react if her husband comes out of the restroom and he is on fire? You're going to hear that story. And then the other one is raising preteen daughters. What does a father fear in raising a preteen daughter? So here we go. Let's get into it. Let's go live at Liberty.
Liberty family, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you've all had a warm and cozy winter weekend. I had chili on Friday. I made homemade chili. I was inspired by the women and maybe some men too who made chili for the chili cook-off that we had Sunday night after our first Sunday of the month prayer meeting. And there were 14 participants, and I had to miss out because I was out of town. But chili sounded like a great idea. I saw a lot of people had it on Facebook. And so I want to give a shout out to our winners. In third place, we had Amber Sane. win. Second place, Kelly Albertson. And first place win went to Peggy Osmus. I asked the ladies, what made your chili so special? And Amber said nothing really. It was her mom's recipe that she tweaked a little bit. Kelly said that she was looking for a winning recipe on Pinterest for a chili cook-off at work. She found one that had 3 meats in it, and one of the meats was bacon. And bacon makes everything better, so she thought that would be a winning recipe. She got 3rd place at work, 2nd place here, so maybe there's a 1st place win in her future. But Peggy Ozma said she wasn't even going to make chili. She was making grilled cheese sandwiches, and Tim said, "You're not going to make chili," so she did. And as they were walking in, Tim was holding the crock pot and said, "I think this is the winning chili." So maybe it was Tim's belief in her chili and love for her that was the winning, the secret recipe. But either way, congrats to all those ladies and thank you to all who participated. I also would like to really encourage you, if you haven't been to one of our First Sunday prayer meetings, come and join us. It's a really sweet time, and the fellowship meal together after is always a good time. So join us in February for that if you haven't before. Did y'all know we have a fantasy football league, or we had one here at church? We had some guys that participated in that, and so I want to congratulate Brian Branham for his first place win and Bo Barrett coming in 2nd. But when I was getting that information from Brian, one thing that I thought was more interesting than the fact that they had fantasy football teams and how they did with that was the names of the teams. So I've created a Survey Monkey, and we're going to put that on Facebook. So if you will go on there and vote for your favorite team name, next week we will announce the winner of that. We'll see if Brian can keep his first place position. His team name was Ugly. It was UGA, all capitalized with LY in lowercase letters. And I think he has a pretty good shot, but there's some other good names on there too. So go on there and vote and then come back next week to see who wins. Our youth served at the Murray County High School basketball concession stand this past Tuesday. And it was a service project where they were able to go there and serve at the concession stand. And it allowed the parents of the players to be able to just enjoy the game and not have to work that night. So I want to give a shout out to Levi, Leanne, and Courtney for heading that up. And then Abby and Aubrey, Trinity, Gigi, and Eris all came to work the concession stand that night. So thank you to them. Next, we have some birthdays to celebrate. Rhonda Joseph celebrated her birthday on January 9th. Sam Satterfield has a birthday today on the 12th. Wanda Hill has one coming up on the 14th, Scout Pelfrey on the 15th, and Jake Carver on the 19th. So happy birthday to all of them. We also have some anniversaries to celebrate, and I have a confession to make. When Brian said in the service today that there was male and female who had different anniversaries, different dates for their anniversary in Realm, I am the guilty party. I had the wrong date, so it wasn't even Michael. It was me that put the wrong date in there. Anyway, he loves me and has forgiven me for that. But Anthony and Larissa Landowski celebrated their 14th anniversary on January 1st. Rick and Jane Willette also celebrated an anniversary on January 1st, and it was their 27th. Danny and Jody Miller celebrated an anniversary on January 2nd, and I think it was their 9th. I didn't have their information from the same place, so I could be wrong about that, but happy anniversary to you guys anyway. And then Clint and Charlotte Jones celebrated their 49th wedding anniversary on January 3rd. So we wish all of you many more years of love and happiness. And then Caitlin and Nathan Pendergrass had a beautiful baby boy on December 28th. His name is Rhett, and so they were able to celebrate the new year and the first snow with baby Rhett. So congrats to you guys. I would love to be able to celebrate anything that's going on in your lives. Make sure that your birthdays and anniversaries are updated in Realm so we can announce those. But for anything else, please email us at live@liberty76@gmail.com. and send that stuff in so we can help celebrate with all of you. I have one more birthday to celebrate today, and it is Lori McAfee's. She has prepared a nice little gift for you guys in this next segment, but we want to wish her a happy birthday, and so for now, I will turn it over to the birthday girl. Thanks.
Hey, Stephanie. So this is the first of the year, and January, we're really going to focus on transformation, a true heart transformation, not just behavior modification. And I believe that the beginning of transformation is one's salvation. and I've read your powerful salvation story. So, Stephanie, can you speak a little bit about your salvation story?
Yes, I just want to say that it began with prayer. I had faithful parents who prayed for me and my husband for a very long time, and I just want to make sure that that I let you guys know that that was a huge part of what happened, because sometimes we need to be praying for our own family, and we all have a loved one that needs prayer, and prayer is where it all began. But me and my husband were in drug addiction for quite some time together, and we had let things get so bad that the drug addiction had taken us to a place where we just really didn't want to be. And about 15 years ago, my husband was in the bathroom in the process of making methamphetamine. When the liquid, it caught fire and exploded all over him.
Oh, wow.
He came out of the bathroom and he was on fire, and I was absolutely terrified. We both knew that he was hurt really bad. I rushed him to the hospital, and they airlifted him down to Grady Memorial in Atlanta. The doctors had said that he wouldn't make it through the night,
Right.
and I was just terrified. For about the first week, I really was coming off the drugs and having a hard time processing everything, and I was just scared that he was going to die. But the Lord was working through my parents' prayers and through all the prayers that they had people praying for us.
Right.
And I started to feel the Holy Spirit and that drawing from Him. The same feeling that I felt whenever I would sometimes get talked into going to church. And, you know, you'd have the altar call, and my heart would just be pounding. And I knew that if I could just make it out the door, that I could escape.
Oh, wow.
But this time was different. The Lord would not stop. It didn't matter where I went, what I did. I could feel the power of the Holy Spirit drawing me to Him. And about 2 weeks after my husband had been burnt and had been in the hospital is when I broke down on a bench right outside the hospital, and I surrendered my life to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was so broken and so lost that I knew that I needed the Lord, and I knew what I had to do to get there, because my parents had brought me up in church, so I kind of knew, you know, what was going on. But once I surrendered my life to Him, everything changed. My whole perspective was different. The way that I was viewing the situation, and even going in that hospital room, Scott looked different. I mean, it was just, the whole thing was different, and it was definitely life-changing. From that point on, he began to get better and better, and we just kept right on going to church, kept right on taking that next step, and we had people come around us that was helping us along our journey, and the Lord, He just brought us through the whole thing and led us to liberty.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, Stephanie, you mentioned one thing in your salvation story, and it was the very last sentence. Would you share that with us today?
Yes. Me and my husband, we do share our testimony at a lot of different places. And one of the things that we say and that he likes to tell the people is that he spent 10 seconds on fire so that we could tell you, you don't want to spend eternity there. And I think that's just a really powerful part coming from him, because he was there. He was on fire. He knew what that felt like in that moment. And I imagine hell is so much worse than that. And so I know the Lord left us with that so we can share with other people that they don't want to spend eternity in hell.
And your salvation story started actually in a garage with your parents praying fervently for you and for your spouse and for your salvation and for your life. So yes, prayer is such an intricate part of our salvation story.
Yeah.
And with your transformation of salvation and your love for the Lord, Stephanie, how is that helping you through challenges, obstacles, and even joy and hope that you have today in life?
Yes, as the inside of my heart and everything was changed and transformed, and I was just a new creature with a new life. But life is still hard. We still have to walk through hard things in life, and whenever I'm going through a hard time, I remember that situation where my husband was burned and what God did in the midst of all that and how He brought us through. And it gives me hope that no matter what happens, the Lord is in control and He can bring you through the hardest of times.
And Stephanie, being your salvation, it doesn't keep you from challenges or obstacles that go on in life. You still have those that happen.
Yes. I think sometimes it even it can get bad because we're in a spiritual battle, and the devil, he sees what we're doing for God and what our testimony is doing to change lives, and he doesn't like that. And I think that we're in a spiritual battle, and so times can get really hard. Oftentimes whenever I'm going through a situation and I'm praying for even my own family members to get through some of their hard times, I just think back of what the Lord has done in not only just this situation, but so many more over the years.
Right. You know, and you talked about your husband's transformation. Would you just let us know where Scott's at right now and what Scott's doing and how God is really using Scott in his transformation to make a difference in the world?
Well, I will say, while he was in his coma in the hospital and I had changed my life and I knew that I was committed, I was like, well, what's Scott going to say when he wakes up? But I didn't have a thing to worry about because he has not stopped talking about God since the moment he woke up out of that coma. And he just kept growing, kept digging. He was a great leader for our family. He's the one who first said we need to be in the Word every day, and we did that together at first. And he kept us going to church every time the doors were open, and he just kept putting one foot in front of the other and serving in every area that he could possibly serve in. He eventually became the ministry leader at Celebrate Recovery, where he's helped so many people in that area, and he just has been involved in every ministry that I can think of. And one of those ministries is Man Church. Man Church, I've heard from the men, is really, really an amazing thing.
Right.
Us women from the outside looking in, we can tell, that there's something really great going on in Man Church. And I think that that's one of the places where he was able to iron sharpens iron and grow his relationship with the Lord and really be able to step out in faith in all the areas that he does serve in today. So Man Church has been a huge part to that.
And so your salvation led to Scott's transformation as well.
Yes.
Which has led y'all here to Liberty, and you play a huge part in the role at Liberty and the life of Liberty. And then Man Church plays a huge role in Scott's life, which in turn affects your home life as well.
Yes.
And just really brings that spiritual leader to you at home.
Yes.
And your transformation. Stephanie, what would you want to leave us with today?
I think that if you just stay in the Word and keep praying for your lost loved ones and just keep doing the next thing, serving Him, it's community is very important. Just like Man Church and the women, we also have the women's Bible studies that we do. I think that is so important to our growth and to us getting to where God wants us to be able to serve Him better.
Right. Living this real, raw life with one another and doing life with one another and helping each other along the way.
Yes.
I think that's great. Thanks, Stephanie, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
So, hey, guest number one. It's you got to feel pretty privileged to be guest number one of the amazing Live at Liberty podcast. We got Michael Williams with me today. So, Michael, just kind of give us an overview. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about your family, your journey at Liberty.
All right. Well, I guess I'm the first guinea pig if I'm podcast
That is
number
exactly
one.
what this is.
Yeah. So Michael Williams married to Nicole Williams, who was also on this podcast, delivering the birthdays and the anniversaries. We've been at Liberty since 2012. So we found out. Yeah, we found out we were pregnant, and when we knew that Eris was coming along, we really wanted a family church and a church that we could kind of be a part of, and we found Liberty.
So that's really cool that you say that, because I'm just sitting here kind of thinking in my mind. So I came in 2012 as well. I started February 2012. So how far past that were y'all? So if I came February, you guys came when?
August, September-ish.
Okay, so about the summer. So one of my early memories of you guys, I remember when y'all came, was dedicating Eris.
Yeah.
Which she is how old now?
She's 11, sixth grader.
Sick dude. Okay, so when we came here, Morgan was sixth grade.
Oh, cool.
So you're facing middle school.
Indeed. There's a whole different language. There's a whole different thing happening in middle school.
I will. One of those early on memories that I had coming here. So Morgan was in sixth grade. That put Kylie about, I don't know, third grade, something like that. But I went to Arby's and met with Keith Lowe. So Keith was on the pulpit committee. So I knew him kind of, so we used to get together. And so I sat down with Keith one day and I was like, hey, man, so tell me about raising teenage daughters. Because he's got a boy and a girl. Mm-hmm. They're grown now. But he made a statement I'll never forget. He said, your daughter is about to walk out of her body. I was like, oh, no. He said, the good news is she'll come back in, right? And you know, I mean, obviously, I was an only child, but raising two girls, there have been those out-of-body experiences, and I'm looking around like, why are we crying right now? All this kind of stuff. So I will say this, I will pass on that to you as a dad about to go with a teenage girl. It is an out-of-body experience in some ways. But, I mean, just how do you feel? I mean, what are you thinking right now as Eris is we're about to hit 12, and then we're 13, 14, 15, and it does change, man. What are you thinking?
Right now, she's still daddy's girl. Like, if you saw her today in church, she's leaned up against me, and we're looking at each other's notes as we're taking notes during the sermon. So right now, it's awesome. Like, but I can feel
you're in the sweet spot.
Yeah, I feel like it's the tail end of awesome. Like, I feel like it could change at any minute. And it's just crazy. We measured her the other day. She's 5'3", 5'2.5". Like, mind-blowing to me that she's grown so much in the last year. And so yeah, I'm already feeling the pressure of, man, this preteen, like middle school thing is happening, and you know, it kind of coincides with what's going on in our family. Nicole has been pretty involved in the youth over the last couple of years, and so now I'm starting to feel that pull, and I'm actually going to start with the high school boys here pretty soon doing their life group. And so I'm kind of requiring myself to be younger now. Like, I've got to learn the lingo. I've got to know what Riz means and some of these other crazy
I'm
terms.
out, man. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about that teenage culture today, because it's so different today than it was when we were that size and that age. You know, there's some things that are so different, and yet some things are just tried and true. Like, some things are just true, whether we were 13 or they're 13, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of, there is that idea. There's a lot of stuff that I've changed. Even when, you know, Morgan is now 24 and Kylie's about to graduate college. And so there are some things I even see in youth ministry now. It's very, very different. But at the core of it all, it's kind of like Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. There's a lot of things that's just intrinsic to human nature. You're dealing with some of those same things. So I'll ask you this. So you just mentioned one thing on the church journey. You guys are really instrumental in what's become of the Elisha Arrows class, which is a great young adult class of, like, how would you describe it? People with what?
People with school-age kids. I mean, there's the hitched, hatched, and unattached group that's before us. So hitched, they just got married. Hatched, they just had a kid. Unattached, like, hey, we're still single and we're looking to be attached, right? So it's kind of that early young adult class. And then our class is kind of, okay, we've got our kids into school, you know, whether it's elementary school or middle school or whatever. That's the Elisha Arrows class. It's like our kids are in school, they're growing, and then there's the people after us, which is pursuing God, which they've already raised their kids. And there are a lot of times those people in that class are coming back and telling us, you know, advising us on the things of how to raise these kids when they start acting like the preteens and they have that out-of-body experience. That there are those people that are like, hey, this too shall pass.
Hey, I give you a grow-up moment. Just happened right after the service a few moments ago. So there was a guy that I taught in the 9th grade. So my son-in-law Cameron and him were in 9th grade together at Christian Heritage, and they were my first class. And so he was standing in the foyer after church today with his wife and their little boy.
Oh, boy.
And I was telling them about hitched, hatched, unattached. It was a great group for young adults to jump in there. Mm-hmm. So y'all were great in Elisha Arrows, and now you're moving into the Connect student ministry. Then obviously that influence is probably, I mean, God's calling you to it, but Eris growing up a little bit, right? And so you are going to have to kind of acclimate to that culture. But let's get back to the dad thing, or the teenage daughter thing. What do you fear? What do you fear?
Ooh. The unknown, I guess. You know, I was a only child as well, and so I didn't have any sisters to learn about. Right? And so, with her being a daughter, Nicole and I were talking yesterday about just how things that they go through, we didn't have to go through as boys.
Yeah,
you know, like. I can't remember a time when me and a buddy had a problem communicating with each other that either didn't end in a fight and then we hugged later. Like that's just how we dealt with things, and there was never any other emotion involved. Like it was done and we moved on. And so
I'll tell you this, with the girls, they fight and it don't get better. They just stay bitter, man. And girls are mean.
So the unknown is probably like one of the things I guess you could say that I fear.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about man church in a minute, but I'll just bring it up. Like sitting around that small group table, we have the large group setting where there's some real wisdom that is brought from whoever the speaker is. A lot of times it's you, sometimes it's Rick Burgess on the video or whatever, but not just that large group, that small group setting, when we're able to like gather around and there's a couple of old guys sitting at that table that have been through all that I've been through. There's some comfort in knowing that I can ask those guys some of these harder questions, like what does it mean when your daughter says this, and just having that knowledge to be able to draw from has really been helpful. And at the same time, there's some of those 20-year-old guys sitting there too that they're trying to find where Hebrews is in the back of the book somewhere, and so it's awesome to be able to talk to those guys too, and get to see the whole thing happen right in front of you at that table. Yeah,
and it's good. It's cool you said that, because every man has a strategy. It don't matter what you're facing in life. You've got a strategy. Now, it may not be a good one. Your strategy may be, I'm just going to sit here and flip on my phone and see what I see and spend all my time doing that. Your strategy may be to stay away from your kids, to get involved in those are terrible strategies, right? Mm-hmm. But one thing I've always admired about you is, man, anything you've faced in life or business, you've always had a strategy of, I may not know what to do, but I'm going to put myself in the way of some people who can figure it out. And you're always kind of thirsting for knowledge, and that's good, man. Any dude, you got to have some guys that are kind of further down the road than you are in things.
Speaking of that, it reminded me of one of the things I did as soon as I got to Athens. I went to UGA, and as soon as I got to Athens, there was no secret what Athens is. Like, it's great school, but there's a lot going on that's not school, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the first things I did when I got to Athens was go to the Baptist Student Union. Like, that was the strategy. I'm like, listen, I don't know what this place is about. I don't know what I'm going to get into. But one thing I know for sure, I need to be part of this Baptist Student Union. Like, I need to have some guys beside me that can pour into me, that can help me navigate these waters, because these are some treacherous waters. And so luckily I got to meet David Platt there. One of my really good friends now, Matt Bentley, is a guy that I met there. Went to New Dog Weekend, so it was like the lock-in version for college students in the Baptist Student Union. So I found all the way through my life, having that group of guys around you to kind of help keep you on the straight and narrow, super important.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I give you, that's always a good thing. We'll talk about that in a minute in the man church thing. I give you one thing, because I know everybody's like, okay, so how do you raise these teenage daughters, right? So I give you couple little points on how to do this. And so two of our big strategies, obviously we were learning from guys that are further down the road than we are. That's why I sat down with Lo and learned from him. But one is, and I've told you this, man, you're always teaching responsibility. I think one of the things where people fail in parenting is they don't let their children face the consequences of bad decisions. So,
guilty.
So we went out, and there may be people like, I'm going to unsubscribe from this podcast after I hear this. But we went on a family trip, and Morgan had just gotten, I can't remember, his iPad or something for Christmas or whatever. And she left it in the hotel room and lost it. It's gone, right? We were like almost home before she realized it. And so she wanted another one, but we made her buy it, right? We made her raise the money for the cost of that. And I took the receipt of the one we bought her and taped it on her mirror. So so it was there.
There was no escaping.
Yeah, it'd be like, dude, that's so cruel. But I'm gonna tell you, man, since she's paid for a car, her first car, she paid for half of her first car with us, and now she's bought a car with cash now that she's an adult. It taught her that value of responsibility and consequence. But probably one of the best things that I did, that Shannon and I did, is there was a godly woman named Anita Goddard who was a teacher, and then she became the principal at Christian Heritage. And I basically went and told Anita Goddard, as many things as that you do that I can get my daughters involved in, I want my kids around you. And man, Anita Goddard was a great influence on them. And you know, you could still ask Morgan some things. She'd tell you about Anita Goddard in her life. But you know, hey man, that'd be the two big takeaways. But you mentioned something a few moments ago, just kind of about the role of man church. And we do that every Wednesday night, 6:30. You've been involved in it probably since we launched it, almost 10 years ago now. And then the end of this month, we've got this men's weekend coming up. January 31st, February 1st, Mayor Kainer's going to be here. And you've been involved in all of this. This is the first one of those we've done. So first, just kind of reiterate man church. Why? Why is that so important for men? Why has it been really important for you? And then let's just kind of hit on the, as we kind of close out, let's hit on the men's weekend.
Yeah, so why it's important to me, I mean, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I come to church on Sunday and I'm feeling great about my walk with the Lord. The sermon was amazing. Austin and the worship was amazing. I'm ready to go, run through a brick wall. I'm going to go praise the Lord on the other side of that brick wall. And then Monday morning happens. and then Tuesday morning happens. By the time Wednesday night gets here, I need that refresh. I need that cup of coffee, the donut, and the word. Like I need to get that one more time. And so Thursday morning comes, and I'm more prepared for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday than I would have been had I not come to Man Church on Wednesday night. And there's a million reasons why I can skip Wednesday night. I can mow the grass. I can go to another appointment. There are all kinds of things I can use to say, oh, I need to do this. Yeah. This is time sensitive.
Everybody's busy.
But at the end of the day, Thursday and Friday are way better when I come to Man Church on Wednesday night. So it's a nice midweek refresher for me. And getting in that cadence of just understanding and knowing that your walk with the Lord is the most important, and being able to exercise that worship on Wednesday night. I mean, let's be honest, we're super lucky that we get to do that in this country. So I just love that I get that cadence of every Wednesday night, I'm going to go spend some time with the Lord and spend some time with brothers in Christ. And so I need it. I won't be as good a person as I can be on Thursday and Friday without it. And so I'm thankful for it. And then as far as the weekend goes, having a men's weekend is much like when I went to that new dog weekend at the Baptist Student Union. It set the tone for what I wanted out of that experience. And so just knowing that 2025 is here, it's at the end of this month, we need to set ourselves to the standard of what God wants us to live by. And so this weekend is a great way to set the standard for your 2025. And it's a good start to building that relationship with the other guys in the room. It's one thing for me to spend 20 minutes with you on a Wednesday night, but if I get to spend 3 hours with you going deeper in the Word and getting to know you in a deeper, more meaningful way on that Friday night and that Saturday night, then our relationship is just going to be stronger later. And so it's a really important weekend for me.
Now, I'll tell you this, and as Eris grows up, these next few years go really fast, and then she's going to college, right? So Amir, our guest speaker that weekend, he is the president at Truett McConnell College. And, you and I talked about the shifting in teenage culture. There's a lot of things. There's always changing. There's always new challenges, always new words. I don't even, Riz, is that the word?
Short for charisma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's a lot easier to spell, I guess. But, the cool thing about Amir that I'm looking forward to is, man, this guy is with college kids all the time. And you talk about somebody who is on the tipping point of culture. And I think he's going to bring a lot of insight into men, whether you got daughters or sons or your kids are like mine, we're empty nesters. I just think there's a lot of things that he's going to be able to pour into in that men's weekend. It's going to be good for all of us.
I can't wait. I've done a little bit of research on him, and could I tell you that the world needs more strong men? This guy's not afraid. This guy is not scared to stand firm on what he believes. And so I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to talk to him, interact with him. I'm really looking forward to this weekend because we do need strong, real Christian masculinity in this world. And so I can't wait to see him.
He's been on a lot of things, Fox News. Have you seen the one where he's on Huckabee yet?
I have not.
Yeah, so he did a book So their family he was raised Islamic.
Mm-hmm.
And he came into Christianity. And dude, you talk about being bold.
Oh yeah.
Look up that interview
I read
on
the Cliff
YouTube.
Notes. I didn't know there was an interview, but I read the Cliff Notes of his book. And he doesn't hold back. He stands firmly on what he believes.
We'll get Austin to put the link to that in the notes for this. So, but anyway, well, thanks, man. Thanks for being. You are. I think you were a good guinea pig. So.
Well, good. I hope so. I hope it gets better from here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're counting on. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today live at Liberty.